just something to think about for you. I'm just tightening that shit up so it doesn't do that, make that retarded noise. I'm gonna stop flinging that word around. I'm gonna get fucking cancelled. Now I'm an influencer. I gotta be careful what I say. I'm gonna get like out of context cancelled like Mr. Beast did back in the day because of one thing he said when he had 3 subscribers, and then he gets accused of being fucking homophobic or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm gonna get to fucking 150 million subscribers and trillions of views, but you know, the point still stands. I'm not trying to get cancelled. Anyway, something a little bit different from the last couple. I've been hearing the term hypermasculinity recently. That word's been flying around a little bit and kind of makes me think. Oh, I can squeak around there. Hypermasculinity. You see these guys. Andrew Tate is a perfect example of a hypermasculine guy. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong. I don't see a huge issue with hypermasculinity as such. Like, if you want to get up and work for 25 hours a day, yes, that's a joke. That's what they say. They get up and work for 20 odd hours a day. Like, yeah, okay. Even if they do, it's like, right, sure, whatever. But it just seems we've gone through a bit of a phase where hypermasculinity was all the rage, and I feel like now people are kind of maybe not opening their eyes to the bullshit, because I don't think all these guys are lying, but like if they lie or not, it doesn't really, that doesn't matter. But go on, numbnuts, in you go. And I think just people are getting sick of it, like the whole super extreme, like grind, all you're doing is working. Now, while it's a good mentality to have, I don't think it's a lot of people, it just doesn't suit them in terms of like everything. Well, it's a hyper masculinity. It's not. You can still be a masculine man without being this worker. I'll say workaholic. Yeah, I'll say workaholic without being a workaholic and never ever letting up. Now, I'm not saying that you can just relax and take a day off whenever you want. That's not what I'm saying. It's like I've heard Andrew Tate say, "Whenever I'm awake, I'm working." Like, if you are, that's a bit of a sad life. Now, I don't care how much money you're making and how much money your work has made. There's no quality of life in work. You see what I mean? Now, I'm not excusing lazy behaviour. You should be working at least 6 hours a day, a good portion of the day, because shit's got to get done. Like, there's plenty of shit to do within a good part of the day. Like, it takes a good few hours, probably even more, half a day at least of waking hours. So what's that? Fucking 8 hours. So if you work 8 hours a day, I guarantee you will achieve whatever you want to achieve. I don't give a fuck what they say. Yeah, you may not be fucking making $300 million a month, but you'll be making more than enough to live very comfortably. Get over, numbnuts. You'll be making more than enough to live extremely comfortably if you work 8 hours a day on something that you're very passionate about and that you know is proven to make you money. I'm not talking going to work for 8 hours a day. That doesn't count. That's trading your time for money. I'm talking about making actual money. If you're in the self-improvement space, you know what I'm talking about. Making actual money. Don't give a fuck. Old mate just told me to slow down, and I feel like speeding up. Fuck construction workers have way too much. I think they have way too much power, eh? Fucking flogged. Bro's probably dumber than a fucking doormat. And thinks he has the authority to wave a fucking sign in front of me. If he sticks it out, I'm not going to run into it, but... Slow down. Shut the fuck up, bitch. He wouldn't have waved that fucking sign if I was in a fucking Porsche. I guarantee it. Anyways, I would have just sped up anyway. I give a fuck. He can't find me. Anyways. Maybe I am hyper masculine. Maybe I've been watching too much Andrew Tate. Anyways. Hyper masculinity is very much so a double-edged sword. Like, you see cringe kids on the internet trying to be hyper masculine. They're like 14-year-old making TikToks, saying they've escaped the Matrix, whatever, and it's just cringe because they aren't masculine. They aren't even a little bit masculine, and they're just trying to act. It's all just an act, and I feel like if you've been doing this shit long enough, then yeah, you might be able to say hyper masculinity, but it seems a bit bullshit to me. That makes sense. I don't know. I just don't like the whole concept of getting up and your entire personality is just work. I mean, you see workaholics in normal jobs and they're not great to be around. And I think the only reason why hyper-masculine men seem so popular is because they're doing so well. Now, I don't know if people actually want to be friends with them. That makes sense. But I wouldn't try and aim to be a hyper-masculine. I wouldn't try and aim to be hyper-masculine straight away. Because not only are you probably going to look like a dickhead, especially when you're making like $1,000 a month online, and if you go through a low patch and you're just stuck at $1,000 a month, well, that's good. I'd take that. But if you're acting like you're trying to be Andrew Tate, super masculine man, that all he does is work, and you're only making $1,000 a month, people will literally laugh at you. Because there's no reason to act like a dickhead when you don't have dickhead money. We'll call it fuck you money. That's a bit more of a common term. There's no need to act like a dickhead when you don't have fuck you money. Now you can see why rich people are dickheads, because they've got so much money they don't care. And it's kind of excused, which is fair enough. I'd be a dickhead too if I was that rich. But it's a culture that can benefit some people, but I don't think benefits as many as what people want to believe. And so I feel like just being just a masculine man that works most of the day, but also has hobbies and is not a dickhead, and I still think having fucking hobbies, like having a fucking following a sports team, that is not going to stop you from making millions of dollars. I don't give a fuck. Maybe that's just a poor man's mentality, but I don't see the problem with supporting a sports team or going to play basketball. I ain't going to give basketball up. I don't give a fuck. And these hyper-masculine dudes act like it's such a bad thing. And it may be while you're trying to get there. It may be just harming your progress because you're obviously not thinking about making money or whatever all the time, which I feel like is good. Because 99% of people can't work all the time. 99.99 And Andrew Tate just happens to be in that 0.01% that can, and just doesn't seem to bother them that they work all day. Now, of course, you're gonna get more results, but there's no balance there whatsoever. Now, I feel like you can still live a life whilst also being a masculine man that does all these things, that makes a lot of money, that is super attractive, all this stuff, whilst also having a deeper personality that's more than just, what do you do in your free time? I work. I don't have free time. And it's like, you can't really have a conversation with anyone like that. I mean, maybe I'm just inexperienced with my conversation skills, but if all you talk about is work, I feel like people just get to know you as that guy who never stops working. Now, again, I'm not saying go and fucking be degenerate or whatever when you're not working, but I'm talking about developing your character. And I feel like Hamza's a borderline hyper-masculine. Like, he works a lot, but he's still doing other stuff. Like, I know he travels, and I know he spends time doing other things. Like, he did have a girlfriend type thing, and it seems like he has more of a balance. Rather than someone like Andrew Tate, who is super hyper-masculine, isn't as, will always have a level of separation from people who want to be like him, because he's just so, but he's probably dedicated as fuck, and that's fair enough, but it's so unrealistically difficult to achieve that. So I wouldn't be aiming to become like Andrew Tate, because I feel like people will alienate you. Like, you're this guy up on a pedestal who's made millions for himself, and while it's all good and well, it's just that perception that, I don't know, if this makes sense. The more I talk, the less this makes sense in my head, so it might be the same for you. But I just want you to be careful of, when going on self-improvement, be very careful of hyper-masculinity. Now, individual's definition of that may be different, but generally, don't be that guy. It's a bit like making the guys who make self-improvement their whole personality. Like, don't be that guy. And that's what I'm getting at here. Don't be that guy who doesn't have any depth in his personality and all he does is work or thing, whatever. Like, go out and find some hobbies. Go and have a social life without being a degenerate. Don't be a degen. Don't go start smoking weed because all your friends are. Find people who... Why is that so... Find people who are not degenerates, but also have personalities. Because you don't want to be around a group of dickheads who, are super successful and great at making money, but that's all they are. Like, personally, I wouldn't want to be actually friends with... I wouldn't want to spend I would spend time with Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers. I relate more with Tristan Tate, because he has a kid, and I'm not sure if Andrew has a kid or not. I don't remember. I don't keep track of it all, but it seems like Tristan is out there in the world he's more personable. He's like, he'll be working his dick off anyway, but he's smarter about it in terms of how he looks. Like, he seems, Tristan is a lot more relatable to a lot of people, and while while he's that hyper aggressive, or not hyper aggressive, but super strong willed and all this stuff, he's accomplished, but he doesn't have that dickhead persona that Andrew can have. And I feel like that makes him so much more personable and so much better to be around than what Andrew would. And he can still provide you with all of this vital information and this such valuable information, rather than these. See, I don't think Tristan is as hyper masculine as what Andrew is. But Tristan, of course, he's still fucking masculine. He's a fucking weapon. Tristan is a fucking weapon, man. And I reckon, I feel like I'd model my life and how I portray myself to the world more like Tristan than what Andrew does. Andrew takes a lot of things to extreme, but Tristan is like more low key, but still that makes more sense, I guess. More low key, but still that guy. Now this video has run right up. I've been waffling a little bit, but I feel like it makes again, it's something to think about, especially guys who have been on self-improvement. I mean, it's really for everyone, because hypermasculinity is a thing to think about for everyone, because you don't want to be one of those cringy 14-year-olds who's making SMMA TikToks because he thinks he's a top G, but you also don't want to be this guy that no one really wants to hang around with but makes a fuck ton of money so people hang around with him. If you get what I mean? Does that make sense? Anyways, I've been waffling for long enough. You should have gotten something out of this video. If not, then no idea. If one person is stuck around to the end of this video, hey bro, you're a fucking legend. If I help one person, that is, I am happy. One person, I will take that. And so comment if you found this video actually useful or insightful at all, because it would be nice to know if these type of, not educational, but like, I mean, I guess it's educational, but I'll call them insightful videos. Videos that give new perspective on the self-improvement space. And I guess that's why I made this channel, because I feel like there's a lot of hyper-masculine channels that try and be this perfect person when most people aren't. And I'm not, and so I figured, well, it's much, what I'm trying to achieve is so much more achievable than what these hyper-masculine men make it out to be. Like, I'm trying to prove that it's not just these it is 1 in a million, because that's fucking, but it's like, these everyday people can become masculine as fuck and become successful and all this stuff. That's what I'm trying to get at. And remember, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. It means a lot. Don't ever forget that life is what you make it, bro.